Hello and welcome to Judy's Creations in Crochet. I'm coming to you from southwestern Ontario in Canada, and the focus of my channel is to show finished objects as much as possible and to share my love of crochet, and it has developed into sharing hand-dyed yarn as well. Since so many other channels will show you yarn that you can easily find in the big box stores, I wanted to put my focus onto hand-dyed yarn, and particularly from indie dyers in Canada. But I have also heard from some of my subscribers, and hello to all of my followers. I really appreciate every single one of you. But I have heard from some of them that they have learned something new from a lot of my videos. And I really appreciate hearing that. And I'm really glad that I can share new things, knowledge that I have with others. That's the retired teacher in me, happy to share knowledge. And I hope I can continue to do that throughout my episodes coming up. So thanks for all that are here watching me today. And if you are new, please hit the subscribe. I hope you found it interesting and want to come back and see further videos. And I appreciate if you would make a comment. I read and answer every single comment. I appreciate every one of them, and I like hearing where you are from. And of course, a thumbs up would be appreciated as well. So normally we start with what I'm wearing, but I want to take care of something else first. As you know, I had a draw a few weeks back for this journal to keep track of your finished objects. And I still have not heard from the person who won the draw. So as I said last week, I redrew a name this past weekend. And the new winner is, and I'll put it up here, and I'm going to put her name across the screen because I'm not sure if you can always read the names in the pictures. They might be a little too small. But I want to congratulate Teresa Andrews. I hope I'm saying that correctly, Teresa. But congratulations to you. You're the new winner for this journal. And I noted in your comment that you said you have never kept track before, but if you were to get something like this, you would start keeping track. So here's your chance. You need to email me, and my email address is judyscreations21@gmail.com. The email address is in the description box below. So email me, please, with your mailing address, and I'll get that out to you in the mail just as quick as I can. I really want somebody to get this book and be able to start using it while it's still fairly early in the year. So, moving on. I don't have a lot of finished objects to show this week. As you know, I was working on a tester shawl for a designer who designed for a magazine, and that really ended up taking a lot of my time because I made it with what she told me was the amount of yarn I needed, and it wasn't enough, and I had no way to add to it. So then I had to go back and redo it in another yarn and much smaller hook, which caused some problems in my hand with cramping. And anyway, long story short, it took me 2 weeks by the time I made 2 versions and photographed it and then had to re-photograph it and everything. So that's finally done, and I could move on to some things that were on my to-do list. And apparently this magazine comes out in March, so hopefully sometime in March I can show you this shawl and what it looks like. Meanwhile, I ran into problems with some things of my own this week, which I'll tell you about in a bit. So what I do have finished is near as much as I would like to have finished. But the first thing I want to talk about is, what am I wearing? Well, you may recognize this sweater. I showed it to you a few weeks back. This sweater and the purple sweater that you may remember, and I'll show it to you shortly, are the first two sweaters I ever made, and I made them last winter. The purple one was from the bottom up, and it kept on going down the back, all in one piece, so it just had underarm side seams. This sweater, the next one I tried, is a top down. It's done in the round. You slip stitch at the back, so the only real seam you see is at the back. And you come down so far, and then you mark the different places to join under the arms and keep going in the round all the way to the bottom. Then you come back up to where you joined it, and you go around. Now it's long enough, if it were a summer top, you could leave it. That'd be enough sleeve. But this is winter wool. So then you go around again in the round all the way down both sleeves. And I said when I showed you this before that I had to take it apart and remake it because, you know, when you're putting it on yourself, it's really hard to tell. And you join it up here, well, all you got's two clips joining it. And I had joined, or yeah, made the joins here to do the side too low. I had way too big of an arm in it, and the armholes were way too low. So I went back and I took it up. All you have to do is take it up, undo it from the bottom up to where you want to join it. So I took it up to here. You can see where the last round is going around, and I joined it higher than it was. I only took out maybe 2 rows. It wasn't that substantial, but under the arm I had put more chains in it, so I took out the extra chains, which made it fit better because it was really quite big on me. So I redid it, going down, and of course you had to take out the sleeves because you changed the armhole. And then I made the new sleeves, which again are more of a sleeve that fits me, not a baggy sleeve. And it's just below my elbows, which is comfortable for me. Interesting to me is that I took out the yarn and I set it aside. This is one sleeve, this is the other sleeve, this is the body. And it didn't make a whole lot of difference in the amount of yarn I had left over when I was all done, even though I made the arms and the body smaller. I guess because you use some of it to, you know, tie up the ends, and somehow I only had a teeny bit of extra yarn left over, but it's done and much more comfortable than it was, and I'm really happy to have done it. And that's off my to-do list. So that's one thing I finished. Then I don't know if you noticed last week, but Kiki was sitting up there, and you really can't see the top this week. Must be where I set the camera. But Kiki has changed into her February dress. So she is all ready for Valentine's Day. Now, we won't be having a Valentine's episode because, as you know, I always put my videos out on Thursdays, and Valentine's Day is next Monday. So Kiki's just dropping by in her new finery, again made out of latte cake and a couple of mini skeins I had in my stash. And she's dropping by to say Happy Valentine's Day to everyone. So that's her. We'll put her back up on the shelf. You can barely see her. Now, another item that I finished, a small item, was a scarf. It's quite a long scarf. I did it with a big hook, a number 10 hook, quite long, meant to, you could wrap it around twice if you wanted. nice and bulky, very soft, fluffy, nothing special, just double crochets and some rows that are open, and some fringe, which is rare for me. And the yarn I used was a loops and thread, that's a Michaels brand, called Brushed Colors. Brushed Colors. And it has 464 yards or 424 meters in the ball. And it has, what's it made out of? I think it's made, I read it the other day. I don't know where it went to. What bothered me, oh, there it is. 73% acrylic, 15% polyester, and 12% polyamide. And even though it's acrylic and polyester, it says hand wash and lay flat to dry. I'm not quite sure why that is. I want to show you how it comes. It actually comes in a big ball like this. This is the same yarn, but in a different color. This is more neutral, and I got it to make a scarf that, you know, lots of people could wear. This I have 2 balls of, so it's going to go quite far. I'm not sure what I'm going to make with it, but you know why I couldn't pass it by. It was on sale. Again, loops and threads, they make it, and then after the season, at the end of the season, they stop making it. So when that happens, they have clearance, and you can buy a big ball like this for $5 or something like that. And so I'm going to, I'm not sure what I'm going to make with it, but it is very soft. It has a metallic thread running through it, and it's quite bulky, and it would be something that would be very nice to wear. So I'm going to take this off. It's warm. So that is one thing I managed to make this week. Nothing very big. And when you're using a big hook like that, you progress pretty fast. So that's a finished object. Now, the next is just a work in progress, but I wanted to show it to you, and I probably won't show it when it's finished because it won't look much difference. And that's what Hope is wearing. Oh, by the way, I also made a headband in this. Don't really like how it looks, so I don't know what I'm going to do with it. Anyway, here is the other item I have been working on, and I showed you this a few weeks back as well. I'm using a number 5 furls hook. As you know, I love my furls hooks, and I'm going to tell you about the wool in a minute. This is a ruana, so it comes straight down. This is the one that I had the 2 sides done. And then I was working on the back, and I only had about that much of the back done. The yarn is still attached, but you can see I'm almost to the bottom now. And you can see maybe that I don't have much more to go. I'm hoping just this ball will finish it, but I have several other balls of this yarn, and I want to tell you about this yarn. But you can see we're getting really close to being finished with this, and I don't know that I will join it at the side. If I do join it, what I'm going to do is maybe just do a little join in here, just a small one. Otherwise it'll be open. I'm not sure. I might leave it totally open. We'll see. But anyway, that's what I had been working on, and I had hoped to have it finished for today, but I get sidetracked with so many other things. But that is not a pattern anywhere. It's just 2 rows of double crochet, and then I do a row of V stitches. That's it. A V stitch, two rows of double crochet, and that gives it a little bit, as you can see, a little bit of open in some rows. And I'll let the yarn take over, since it is a fairly pretty yarn. Now, here is the yarn, and I want to tell you about this yarn. And this is exactly what you will hear by many other YouTubers. I originally bought this yarn from Ice Yarn, and it is called Rosetto. And they also have Rosetto worsted. I think it's called Rosetto worsted. And I bought another color in this, and I bought it, I think, in the worsted. But I thought that the one that wasn't worsted would be DK. But look at how thin that is. Most of it is this. There are places where it gets a little thicker, but a lot of it is quite thin. This is more like fingering, or in some places it's even thinner than fingering. So obviously I didn't have enough. I didn't realize how much was on the, I think there's 200 meters in one of these balls, and they come in a package of 4. So 800 was not going to be enough to make one of these. But I happened to see this exact same yarn at Hobie. And as you can see, they call that Colorina. And Hobie didn't make a plain enough to me anyway, as to what thickness they were. And so I ordered what I thought. I have this in worsted as well, and I wanted to use worsted in that. And I thought I was ordering the right one when you look at it, but when it came, it was the thinner one. So I said, okay, fine, I'll use the thinner one and make that item. Now, it is exactly the same yarn. You can't tell where I've used one ball and where I've used the other. And it is 80% acrylic, 20% wool, 200 meters, and use a hook 4.5. I'm using a 5. And so that is the exact same yarn. And I didn't have to reorder from Ice because I thought I would have to. But when you order from Ice, to make it worthwhile, you have to make a large order, because as you have heard from many other YouTubers, their shipping is unbelievable. So the more you order, the cheaper it gets per item. So I always, if I order from them, make large orders to make the shipping a little more worthwhile. I haven't ordered from them in ages. I think I've only ordered from them twice, and I don't think I will ever order from them again, because most of the time you can find the yarn somewhere else. I can order from Hobie, and if I order $75 worth, and that's not hard to do, you get free shipping. So I can find enough things at Hobie that I like. Their prices are a little higher, I will admit, but when you get free shipping, that makes a difference. So that's the item I'm working on, and I'm hoping that maybe tonight I will finish it. I won't be bringing it back to show again. All right. So those are all of the things I have to show that I've been working on or making. I also wanted to show you, this item that you saw a few weeks ago, and I asked everybody, what should I do about the length? I did take the extra off the bottom. I took 2 sections, a white section and a blue section. And even with them off, it's still, there's half of it, and it's more than my wingspan. It is very long. This was my Hexit shawl, which was the first item on my Make 9 chart. I did take the extra off, and it's still plenty big. And before I show you hand-dyed yarn, I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. I am planning, when I finish this tonight or tomorrow, I want to start on another sweater. And this time, if you remember this sweater I wore back in the fall, purple with the sparkles, and this was the one that was made all in one piece over the neck, and I said I was going to take a few rows out of the top. Not out of this one, I'm not going to remake it, it's too much work, but the next one I make will be a little bit shorter. Well, I am going to make another one, and this is the yarn I am going to use. So hopefully next week, all going well, I will maybe be wearing this. And this is the yarn. It is an expression fiber arch yarn called Sparkle DK, and you can see I've caked up 3. I have several more, so I have plenty, however much it takes. The DK comes with, I got yarn floating around here. It's a DK, so it only comes with 275 yards in the skein. But I like these, I like this yarn because it is merino and nylon and 10% baby alpaca and 4% metallic. And I'm sure you can see the metallic running through there. And it's in a blue, which I love. Very blues. It's called Blizzard. So hopefully I'll have that to show you next week. I'm going to start that sweater in the next day or so. But that was the problem I ran into. I started to make this sweater the other day, and I was making it with a yarn I had shown you that I got from Ravenswood. I just love it. Here it is. I just love it. And I went to start the sweater, and this is fingering, and it's very thin, and I hadn't even a row done, and I knew that it was far too thin to make a sweater. So then I got out another yarn from Lyon's brand. Name escapes me. And it was a four weight yarn, and I started making it, and it was super heavy. I thought I'm never going to enjoy wearing this. And on top of that, did you ever find that you make the base row, you chain carefully, you pull it out, you do the next row, you measure it again, and then you do 6 or 7 rows and it grows. You do a few more rows and it grows again. Well, I took that thing out twice, and it still was too big. Every time I did it was too big. I said, enough. It's too heavy anyway. Put it aside. I'm going to use this DK yarn. Okay. Now, that's it for finished objects or works in progress. Just before I start to show you yarn, I want to mention, because I'm going to show you some hand-dyed yarn from 3 different companies in 3 different countries, and it's all what they call vegan yarn. But before I start that, I came across a video that I thought you might find interesting. And it was a video that dealt with the fears that people have of using hand-dyed yarn. And have you kept away from hand-dyed yarn because you have a fear of something to do especially with hand-dyed yarn? This particular video talked about the top 10 fears people have from using hand-dyed yarn. And one of the fears, and this would probably be my first one before I knew anything about it, was the fear of the yarn bleeding. Because it's hand-dyed yarn, they think the color will bleed. Another fear is the inconsistency, maybe the inconsistency of the dye job. Depends who's doing it. Part of it is the fear of the cost. Anyway, and the fear, this is beautiful yarn you're buying, and expensive yarn, and people have a fear that they might ruin it. It might be a little harder to work with, maybe because it's thinner, although you can buy any weight. You can buy worsted weight and chunky weights. They aren't as common. So what I've done is I've put a link in the description box below to this video that deals with the top 10 fears of using hand-dyed yarn. I thought you might find that interesting to look at, to hear. This company, which is a company that hand dyes yarn, and they are in BC, and they have classes and other things. They put out a survey and asked people, and then they took their fears and addressed all 10 of them. And you might find that a very interesting video to watch. So now on to hand-dyed yarn. And the first, like I said, these are all, one small exception, these are all vegan yarns. The first comes from a company called the Mermaid's Purse. By the way, I will link all 3 companies down below, and I will tell you what yarns I have and what is in them. But to go into any depth about what's special about them, I'm not an expert on the different kinds of yarn. So what I want to suggest is, and I will put the link down below, for those of you that follow Reggie or J Hook Crochet, she does something called Yarniversity, and she is very much into vegan yarns and saving the planet. And I don't blame her. I like to do what I can myself to help save the planet. So she did some lessons. She does a lot more research into what she's talking about. And she did an episode, well, it'll be close to a year ago now, on Yarniversity, talking about the different yarns. Now, she talked about the animal-based yarns, you know, besides merino, alpaca, and yak, and camel, and on it goes. But she also did an episode that was completely about vegan yarns, explaining the differences. And I'm going to link to her so you can hear more about the benefits of these yarns. But every one of these, other than the one I'm going to show you at the very beginning, are from a plant base. Things like cotton, linen, bamboo, silks, that kind of thing. So the very first one I'll start with is not, okay? This company does a mixture. They are very much into... I was going to read what they had said, but we're running out of time. But she's very much on the ethical use of dyes and the wool and so on. And she gets her wool, what wool she does have, from museling-free farms and kill-free farms. So the very first one is yarn, wool. This one is... these are all fingering pretty much. This first one is from Superwash BFL wool. And the color here is Sakura. And I got this one, at the time, I don't know why I got the same thing twice. This is just a mini, but it is the same color, but this one is merino wool. And I had never used BFL yarn before, so I got them to be able to compare them. Just so I would know what BFL yarn felt like. Not a lot of difference. I think that merino is a little bit plumper. So I'm not going to talk about these because this is wool, and I said this was going to be all vegan. So I did order vegan yarn from the Mermaid's Purse, and she is located in the UK. And as I said, the link is down below. And I got this yarn in the same color in 2 different yarns. This first one is 100% organic yarn. It's 4-ply, has 400 meters in it. And it feels nice. I mean, you know, cotton does feel a little bit different than wool, but this feels quite nice, quite soft, and it looks like a fingering yarn. Whereas this one This is 4-ply. I think that's means fingering. Every country uses different terminology. Whereas this one, same color, but you see it does look a little different, and it is organic cotton yarn as well, but it is lace weight. So the color seems to be a little bit different. The blue isn't quite the same. And here's the difference in the yarns. This one is thinner. This one is more plump like wool. Like it says, it's 4-ply. 4-ply twisted together. Pretty color. This one is softer than this one, although they both feel fairly nice. Very pretty color of blue. And moving on, one other one I got from there, and that is this. And this one is 4-ply, again 400 meters, and it's 70% bamboo and 30% linen. Bamboo and linen both being plant-based. And the blue isn't quite as nice as the other. And I have to tell you, this doesn't feel like there's any bamboo in it at all. It feels linen to me. And I have to tell you, I'm not a big fan of the feel of linen, at least most linens. I have one linen that I do like. This is not soft by any means. It is somewhat thin. I might use it double-stranded and make something small. It has 400 meters. So this one maybe is a bit of a disappointment to me, but I don't think I had linen until this. And knowing that it was combined with bamboo, I thought that would make it much softer, and I was looking forward to it. But that doesn't even have the sheen or the silky feeling of bamboo. So that is from Mermaid's Purse in the UK. Now, the second company I bought from is called Vegan Yarn, and it's in Canada. It's in BC in Canada. And she only sells yarns that are made from, I think I have a list here. Her yarn, oh, you dear. Excuse me. Cotton, linen, bamboo, tencel, and that looks like everything. That's the only yarns she uses. So we'll start with, I got 2 different colors in this yarn, and this is the one I really like from her site. This is organic cotton and rayon from bamboo. Feels nice. It is, this is sustainably hand-dyed in small batches in New Westminster, British Columbia. That's right out by the coast. And it is 402 meters, 440 yards. And I kind of like that color. In the color Pandemonium. And the line, I'm not even going to try to say it, but that's the line. That is cotton and bamboo. And feels way nicer than that last one. Now I got it in another color, and this is exactly the same. This is organic cotton and rayon from bamboo. And you can tell the color I really, really like. And then I bought one more, and I did the same color as this, and I was just curious, and I bought this one, same color, but it is called, well, whatever that word is, but it is rayon from bamboo and cotton and elastic. And I couldn't imagine what that would be like, but it definitely has elasticity to it. And I'm sure people that make socks would find this a really great fiber to work with. I don't make socks. Maybe one day I'll try making socks, and then I'll use this. Again, it has 345 meters or 377 yards. I think there'd be enough to make a pair of socks, but it's not my thing to make, so I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this one. But I am very happy with these two. She had a special at the time with free shipping, so that's why I took a chance and tried to see what these were like. So that's the Canadian dyer. And then finally, I got yarn from the US, and this one is called Diana Dye, D-Y-E. And I bought two types, and hers are, hang on just a minute, she only deals in certain fibers, and these are the ones she deals in. Bamboo, Tusa silk, I'm not familiar with that silk. Mulberry silk, linen, bamboo, and seacell. And I don't exactly know what seacell is, but again, if you go to Reggie's video about vegan yarns, she will explain seacell, which isn't very common. It's hard to find, and it has a lot of good qualities. But this particular company, DDD or Diana Dye, is in Atlanta, and she only deals in those fibers. So the first one I have to show you is pure bamboo. Now, I've never had pure bamboo. I've always had it in something. Oh, I had one from Ice Yarns or Hobium. They call it 100% bamboo, but much different than this. Now, you see the texture. It is 100% bamboo, and it has 346 meters or 378 yards in it. And I got these two to match. And they feel nice. They do have a silky kind of feel to them, but there is a texture. See the, I guess it might be the twists. See, there is a texture to it. It's not 100% smooth. You can see the twist below my finger there. Then I like this color, and I bought it again, but I bought it in the other yarn, and this is Silken Sea. See, the gray is a bit different, but also see the texture is a bit different. I want you to see that before I put this down. This has texture. This is smooth. And this Silken Sea I got in two colors to go together. And it is 70% mulberry silk. And I've had mulberry silk in many others. I've even had 100% mulberry silk, and I love it. It's 70% mulberry silk and 30% seacell. And this feels so silky. It's got a shine to it. It's going to feel wonderful, and I'm going to put these two colors together. I purposely bought two to go together in this and two to go together in the other. Some kind of shawl or fashion scarf, something to wear around my neck. This is Ice Orchid, this is Fuchsia, and this one is called Amethyst. Some of my favorite colors, and I'm looking forward to using this, but I'm waiting to find a special pattern to make use of both this pair and this pair. I've had them for a while, and I am going to find something special for both of them. So that is the end of my yarns from 3 different companies that deal in vegan yarns. I'm sure you could find some others, but these 2 companies particularly deal 100% in vegan yarns. The Mermaid's Purse does have wool, and she gets it from locally sourced farmers and mills. So that brings us to the end of today's episode. I hope you liked seeing a little bit of vegan yarn and hearing where you can get some of these. And I'm sure you could tell me other places to get it. Now, next week I will be bringing you a little more hand-dyed, one Canadian and one US sourced hand-dyed yarns. And I will also be showing you a few more FOs next week. I'm hoping to have that sweater done. And I also have 3 versions of one pattern that's a surprise to show you next week. So I hope you'll join me to see what I accomplished by next week. And until then, happy hooking.